Danny calling in from Louisiana. Great state. Danny,
Nice.
what's going on?
Hi, are you ready for some truth?
I'm ready for some
Yes.
truth. That's what yes. Oh my God. It's been like
want
2
it.
years. Please give it to me. I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready to give it to you. Okay, so my experience is a near-death experience, and
Oh.
I guess long story short, let's see, ex-boyfriend attempted to kill me with a hammer, so therefore my skull was smashed in.
Oh my
So
God.
what I want to say, was, I supposedly died 6 times. Okay, so what I want to say that there were no pearly gates. There was no God there waiting to greet me, and I'm an atheist, and that's what everybody always wants to know. What happens when you die? Well, letting you know, my truth is there's nobody greeting you. There's nobody that greets you in that point there. So technically, I don't think I was dead. I know doctors and all that say all that, but I don't believe that I was 1,000% dead.
Yeah, so like if you were dead, you wouldn't be talking to us, right? I think that's like kind
Exactly.
of yeah. I think this is a common and I know Dallas has something to say about it too, but this is a common thing where people will say, "Oh, I was medically dead," maybe they were brain dead or something or whatever, but they couldn't have been actually dead because if they were dead, they wouldn't be talking. I think like that's just this kind of misconstruction of terms that happens. And I'm certainly not an expert in exactly how they classify this, but I know that there's a difference between, your heart being still, for example, does not necessarily mean you're dead. You can be resuscitated at that point. There can still be brain activity. There's other functions of your body that's going on, but people will say this as, yeah, my heart stopped, therefore I died, and I saw a white light or whatever, which tends to be an effect of oxygen deprivation, for example. And this is a story that happens. Go ahead, Dallas.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that specifically. But yeah, I was just thinking, I don't know all the medical terms for different types of death, but what I was thinking is people who claim to have died or been told that they were dead, they weren't brain dead, right? Like they weren't like actually like no, nothing going on in their brain. That's why like they still have the it's a release of dimethyltryptamine, right? Is what causes these visions. Like basically they're tripping out is because their brain's still working, but things are starting to shut down. They just don't shut down completely.
Yeah. So
right.
So basically you start to die,
but you don't.
But
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have a great understanding of it. That's just kind of the what I've picked up secondhand hearing.
And Dallas, I think even the most research experts in the field would probably admit and say, yeah, we don't have the best understanding of exactly what's going on there. Obviously, you can't have a CAT scan on somebody that's dying. Like, that's not really their focus, and it's not really ethical to induce a near-death state and kind of study that. So it's I know it's been a hard thing for people to study in this particular literature for a long time. What I do know about it is there is a difference between being legally dead versus medically dead, and depending on the state, depending on the province, they have different definitions of how they count that. And so you can have like a death certificate and still be alive, for example. Like that's a thing that's happened with people and stuff. So you have to be careful when you hear these stories. And I'm glad, Danny, you got to call us and just confirm to us that hey, there's no pearly gates. Now that could be because you're an atheist and you weren't allowed to go to the pearly gates. Do you ever think of that?
Oh, okay. Right. I wasn't special enough.
No,
to have seen God, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It is
guess.
typically Christians that see, Jesus in the pearly gates, whereas Muslims, they see I guess all their virgins and whatnot. It's weird how that works.
That's a thing too that people talk about. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but like there are Muslim near death experiences. Like you can look up those stories. There's also Hindi near death experiences.
I've watched some of those on YouTube.
Yeah. And we put our own cultural biases on what we perceive happening to us. It's just how it is.
It does seem like these stories are just really vivid dreams that people are having. Because there's a lot going on in the brain at these moments. But yeah, it always does reflect what that person believed.
I agree. Well, anything else you want to add on this call, Dani?
Well, no, because that's trauma to the brain. So yeah, a lot happens with all of that, but again, you can't attribute that to there being, I want to say, a higher being, because my thing is, okay, I can say, okay, I was dead, but I didn't see a God.
Yeah.
So there were none, that wasn't there. So yeah. So there's answers. What happens when you die?
there it is. It's like, look, yeah, I get it. It's like, hey, if we're counting these stories as evidence, like, hey, here's pearly gates after you die because this person said it, and then you have your experience, what does that say about the reliability of these testimonies, right?
Right.
Can we trust them? And doesn't really sound like we can we? Yeah.
Well, and then you're dealing with, exactly, and trauma to the brain. Yeah, a lot happens, and you see things, but you don't see that. But I attribute that to, I guess, oxygen deprivation and different things. So your brain is in many different states. So, yeah. That was bad, guys.
I think you summed it up, Dani. Thanks so much for calling in with your story. I'm glad you're okay. I'm so
definitely.
So glad you get to talk to us. But like that's got to be scary, getting hit in the head with a hammer. But
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
One of the points you made kind of did me. Either you made it or Dani made it, but the fact that it's kind of, if you're going to take if the Christians want their stories to be taken seriously, their near-death experiences, then you do have to consider like Dani's story there, right? Like she didn't see anything, but she should have if their stories were actually, them actually encountering the pearly gates because they, had died.
It's I mean, I was never the kind of person to really latch on to those kinds of stories in the first place. But there's somebody out there that their belief in God or their belief in their religion is hinged on a story like that. So it's the world we live in. It doesn't help that we have a lot of those people on shows like Oprah and, like daytime television and, just kind of giving credibility to, like obviously the Heaven is for Real story that blew up a couple of years ago. That's what comes to mind to me about it being kind of a scam. Not great for those guys, but that's for another time.